What luck for rulers that men do not think. This is what Hitler thought about practically anyone who wasn't a Nazi. Hitler liked taking advantage of people, though. He even began his political career by grabbing at power whenever he could. Hitler ended up affecting many people because he created new rules that changed the way people lived. And although you may not believe it, Hitler didn't always want to be a dictator. He wanted to be an artist. Can you picture it? Hitler as an artistic person. You don't really think of Hitler when you see art. Unfortunately for us, though, Hitler was rejected from the art school he had wanted to go to. Hitler had never thought much about politics throughout his life, though. In fact, he wouldn't have become a dictator without the Nazis' help. But it was also his own scheming that led him to becoming Chancellor. When the Reichstag building was burned down, he convinced the president that communists were trying to take over Germany and to ban them from the election. How dare Hitler lie to the president of Germany? He told everyone it had been the communists when really the Nazis had planned it. Who would stop the fascist Nazis now? Not that people wanted them to be stopped. The public still hadn't seen the real side of them. People thought that they wanted to help Germany, but they had their own plans. Then, Hitler was appointed Chancellor. People rejoiced, but they wouldn't for long. After becoming Chancellor, he created the Enabling Act. This act established his dictatorship, and Hitler did many things during his dictatorship that changed people in multiple ways. Do you ever wonder about Hitler before all this happened, though? Before he came to power, he fought in World War I. Hitler moved to Munich to find his place in the world and volunteered to participate in the 16th Bavarian Reserve Infantry Regiment. While Hitler was in the war, it has been said that he was a very good soldier. He was gassed and wounded several times, and he was awarded with 2 medals for his bravery. After Hitler had fought in World War I, he still wanted to find his place. Before the war, he had never really belonged anywhere. Now he felt that being in control, calling the shots, and fighting was where he was supposed to be. Does any of this sound familiar? Following the war, there was nothing for Hitler to do. Hitler, like the other veterans, was angry and bitter that Germany had lost. He didn't know much about politics or the Nazis, and he didn't belong to any political party. He was supposed to be looking for his place in the world when he found the Nazi Party. He was supposed to be spying on them, but he fell in love with their ideas. He joined the group, and shortly after joining, he became in charge of the party's propaganda. During one meeting, he was supposed to speak, but not be the featured speaker. He spoke and proved to be a very good speaker, and after that, the party promoted him to being the feature speaker all the time. He expanded the group and eventually became the leader of the entire group. He kept speaking to people daily. Hitler became so popular that many people wanted him as Chancellor. The Nazis started to become popular because during the Depression in Germany, they promised order and rebirth. They ignored the fact that Hitler had been in jail for 9 months for treachery when he tried to revolt against the government. Then, the president elected Hitler as Chancellor. This was when one example of Hitler grabbing at power was when he became Chancellor. Throughout Hitler's political life, he was always looking for ways to become more powerful. It never affected a mass amount of people until he became Chancellor of Germany, though. 1 week before the appointment of Chancellor was going to take place, the Reichstag building burned down. The Reichstag was the place where laws were signed. The Reichstag building is to Germany as the Congress is to America. Hitler told the president that it was a signal that communists were trying to take over, and the president decided to ban the socialists and communists from the elections to try to prevent this. Then the president elected Hitler as Chancellor. This is an example of Adolf Hitler seeing a small opportunity and trying to twist it to work for him. While Hitler was Chancellor, he was always creating new rules that would keep him in power. One of the first rules he created that gave him more power than he was supposed to have was the Enabling Act. The Enabling Act was an act that established Hitler's dictatorship. The Enabling Act was an act that said no one could abolish the laws that Hitler made or approved. So, Hitler made a law that said all Jewish people needed to go to a special camp. No one would overrule it. The Enabling Act also said there were no limits to Hitler's power. He could do whatever he thought was best for Germany. The Nazis would keep renewing the law so that Hitler could remain in power. Overall, the Enabling Act definitely helped with Adolf Hitler's seize of power. Whenever somebody would try to disobey Hitler's power, the Nazis would go around and beat anyone who disobeyed him. The Nazis would even go around looking for people who said they didn't like Adolf Hitler. Many people know about Hitler and his brutality during the Holocaust, but not many people know about how he targeted other groups as well. Other than targeting the Jews, he also killed non-Jewish people from Poland, communists and political opponents, members of resistance groups, homosexuals, Romanian people, the physically handicapped and mentally retarded, Soviet prisoners of war, Jehovah's Witnesses, Adventists, trade unionists, and psychiatric patients. Hitler, as you can tell, strongly believed in social hygiene. The first victims that Hitler killed weren't Jewish people, though. It was children with different kinds of disabilities. After a public outcry, though, Hitler gave this up. He continued to kill, though. Many people may think that the killing just happened, but it was something that was very well planned. Everyone working with Hitler had a clear idea of what they were doing. They knew Hitler's plans, and they knew that Hitler wasn't negotiable. In conclusion, Hitler wanted power, and even before he became chancellor, he knew what he wanted to do. Hitler sneaked his way into becoming chancellor. Then he created an act so he could get all the power he wanted. And after he was sure his power was secure, he started planning the Holocaust. He tested to see if the things he wanted to do would be bearable to the public, like killing children and killing Jewish people. In the end, what Hitler believed in was, make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. The end.